Hi, and welcome to another Myes stream. Welcome. We are live. I'm coming to you live from Bologna. I am a teacher at the Bologna Mille School. My name is Aaron, as you can see in this corner here, right here. I'm from Cork, Ireland, and you'll be hearing about that very soon. And yeah, I've been living in Bologna for 4 years, and I've been. Oh, hi. We already have a viewer. Hi, Sonia from Bergamo. Nice to meet you. I'm from Cork, and as I said, I've been living in Bologna for 4 years, and I've been working at my English school, Bologna Mille, for 2.5 years. So please introduce yourselves, like Sonia, in the comments, and tell me what is your city famous for? Here's the question at the bottom of the screen. So maybe it's famous for a monument, maybe it's famous for a museum, maybe it's famous for an artist, or maybe it's famous for, I don't know, a director, or maybe it's, well, considering it's Italy, maybe it's famous for some food. Who knows? So please tell me about your hometown. Tell me what makes it famous around the world, even if it's small, even if it's something little. Please tell me about it. I will talk to you about my hometown, and I will show you now some pictures. One famous landmark of Cork City, which is where I was born, is called Shandon Bells. Now, I'll show you now in a second. Here it is. This is a church. It's called Shandon Bells, and it's famous because from the top of the church, you can see all of the city. And as a tourist, you can pull some strings, some chords, and you can play the bells. You have some sheets of music that you can choose the notes to play, so you can actually perform some music. It's great to play with if you're there as a tourist. It's probably terrible for people living around there because, well, they have to listen to this every day. Anyway, we have some comments. We have Valeria. Hi, I'm Valeria from Naples. My city is famous for pizza. Yes, absolutely. I visited Naples, I think, 3 years ago. It was for a Myes convention. We have a convention every year in a different Italian city, and it was in Naples 3 years ago. So I tasted fried pizza for the first time, and it was fantastic. And we have another comment from Nicoletta. Hi, Aaron. I'm Nicoletta, and I live in Chioggia, a wonderful town near Venice. It's an island inside the lagoon. Very nice, very nice. Um, Very interesting too. I visited Venice, I think, once in my life. No, twice maybe. It's a very beautiful city, but never Chioggia. Hello, I'm Pierangela from Florence, and it is famous for museums, artists, and monuments. Very nice, yes. I visited Florence as well a few years ago, and I visited the big churches and the Uffizi Gallery, which was gorgeous, absolutely amazing. And Sonia says, my city is famous for the Venetian walls around the historical center. Wow, amazing. And that's Bergamo. I didn't know it was Venetian. Interesting. So it was under Venice at some point. Interesting. And Elisa. Hi, Elisa. I live in a small town near Milan. It's famous because it's called as a famous Italian cheese. Is this gorgonzola? Please tell me in the comments, is this gorgonzola? Have I guessed it? I seem to remember it was in Lombardy or Piedmont. Hi, Aaron. I'm Sandro. Hi, Sandro. And I live in Ravenna, but I'm a student of Bologna Mille. Oh, fantastic. Welcome to the webinar. Please tell me, what is Ravenna famous for? I've never visited Ravenna. Yes, it is gorgonzola. Fantastic. I love gorgonzola cheese. I am a big fan of gorgonzola cheese. It is one of my favorite cheeses. Um, Yeah. Any other food your town is famous for? Please tell me in the comments. I'm going to show you another thing that Cork is famous for. We have. Let's see if I can show you. Here we go. This, hopefully you can see it. This is the English market. I don't know why it's called the English market, considering that it is Ireland, but maybe it was built by the English, I don't know. It is an indoor market, and there is a lot of great food and vegetables, some typical food of Cork, and there's also some great bars and restaurants on the top side, so really great. And Sandra says that Ravenna is famous for its mosaics. Nice, very nice. Mosaics are always very interesting to look at, considering that they're such small pieces all put together. And Elisa says, I don't like it, but I wait you in Gorgonzola Festival in September. Oh, there's a Gorgonzola Festival? I must go, absolutely. I must go for sure. What period? Is it the beginning of September? Is it the end of September? What is the tradition in Gorgonzola? What do you do for this festival? Very interesting. And talking about food, there is also another interesting place in Cork, which is the Cork Butter Museum. It is very strange, but in Cork, we have an entire museum dedicated to butter. This is because now a lot of people think about Ireland and think, sheep as the typical animal. But in reality, in my part of the country, in the south, there are a lot of cows. And cows obviously make a lot of milk. And so we have a lot of great butter. And so in this museum, you can discover all of the, I don't know, all of the ways to make butter. Maybe, I don't know. I've never visited it, but very interesting. Anyway, what else do we have here? We have some comments. Sonia says, Bergamo's famous food is polenta and birds. It's a cake. So I've never imagined in my life to hear polenta, birds, and cake in one sentence. Can you eat birds? Really? That's incredible. Sonia, have you ever tried this dish? Is it good? I'm very confused. And we have Masha, I think. Hi, from Milan. My city is famous for fashion and design. Yes, of course. The Milan Fashion Week is famous all around the world. Well, my. I've never heard of this before. Very interesting. Is it good? Is it a good plate? Is it a good dish? Tell us, Sonia. Last thing I'll say about food is in this picture, I'll show it up closer about Cork. You can see, maybe I can show it properly, this symbol here. It's probably for a local pub, and it has Murphy's written on it. Murphy's is the name of the of the Cork beer. This is the most famous beer produced in Cork, and it's very similar to Guinness. So in Ireland, there is a big fight between these two big beers. It's like Coca-Cola and Pepsi. You have Guinness and you have Murphy's, Dublin versus Cork. But obviously in the world, nobody knows Murphy's. They all know Guinness, of course. And Elisa tells us more about the festival. It's at the end of September. What do you want to do? Food, wine, and music. Aha. Maybe you'd say, what is there to do? Food, wine, and music. Wonderful. And we have some other comments as well. We have Cristiano who says, hi, Aaron, I'm Cristiano. I live in Mantova. It's famous for tortelli di zucca, a typical type of stuffed pasta with pumpkin. And very nice, very interesting. I visited Mantova for New Year's Eve, so for the last day of the year, which we call New Year's Eve. I'll write it in the comments. New Year's Eve. The last day of the year, I should say. So the 31st of December, New Year's Eve. I'll write it in brackets. So I visited Mantova for that occasion. And we had some typical food as well. There was a risotto with sausage, I think. I seem to remember. And Nicoletta says, in Chioggia, in the St. Andrew's Bell Tower, there is one of the oldest clocks in the world, made in 1386. That is amazing, incredible. Which do you prefer? I don't drink, actually, so I really don't prefer either of them. But tell me, Valeria, do you have a favorite? Hi, Aaron, with 2 A's. Very good. My city is Bologna, and it is famous for the oldest university in Europe. Yes, absolutely. I study at the university as well, so it is also my university. Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for all of your comments. Let's have a look at our lesson today. It should be right here. Our focus today, I'll put it up, is travel agency. And in this focus, we will be looking at, we will be talking about travel, describing a place, and in a travel agency. We have a couple of other comments. Yes, delicious risotto con salsiccia. Yes, that is the one. Yes, very, very nice. Sonia says, I dislike this cake. Maybe instead of a cake, it might be a pie, maybe, because usually a cake is sweet, while maybe a pie is savory. It could be sweet or savory. Sweet or savory. So maybe one of the two. Anyway, I dislike this cake. The birds are chocolate birds at the top. I prefer casoncelli, a typical type of stuffed pasta with meat and salami. Ooh, that sounds very nice. So no, chocolate birds at the top. So it must be a sweet. It's a cake. Okay, interesting. Sandro says, clearly Ravenna is famous for Dante's tomb. Wow. So he died in Ravenna. Interesting. And Olga's here as well. Hi, Olga. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so let's have a look at our first activity. We have prepositions. I like traveling. So remember that with any type of transportation, maybe it's bus, maybe it's plane, boat, etc., the preposition we use is by. Okay, so for example, I like traveling by bus, by plane, by boat, by train, etc. The only one that you don't use by is foot, on foot. So it's always by except for on foot. So tell me in the comments, how do you like going on holiday? How do you prefer traveling in general? Do you like traveling by plane? Do you like traveling by bus, by boat, etc.? So yeah, tell me in the comments. How do you prefer traveling? For me, I'll write this in the comments and put it up. For me, I prefer traveling by plane. Usually the places where I go are a little bit far away, so I prefer traveling by plane because it is very fast. I can arrive at my destination very quickly, and I don't know, I like the experience as well. It's great. Although I don't particularly like Ryanair flights because the seats are very close together. So I am quite tall, so my legs don't fit. Olga says, I am afraid to fly. Yeah, I'm afraid to fly. I'm afraid of flying. That's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that, Olga. And Sandra says, until last month by plane, but post-COVID on foot. Of course, of course. Okay. Nicoletta says, I usually like traveling by plane because it's fast. Yes, the same for me. The same for me. I like traveling by plane because it's faster than other transportation. Yes, I would say it is faster since we're talking about the plane in general as a singular. And Sonia says, I like traveling by plane for long distance. Yes, I agree. Absolutely. But maybe, for example, Olga is afraid to fly. So how do you prefer to travel, Olga? Elisa says, I usually travel by plane, but I prefer traveling by train, except in Italy. Trains are always late. Yes, it's true. And I agree with you for trains because I do like traveling by train. And I use the train a lot in Italy if I'm traveling in Italy. Yes, they are usually late, but they go everywhere and they are quite cheap. So I like taking the train in Italy. Why not? Although yes, they are always late. It's incredible. Sonia says, for short distance, I prefer traveling by train or by car. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Immacolata, nice, nice to see you. I like traveling by train. I did a fantastic experience with Trenino Rosso del Bernina. I don't know what this is. Can you explain it to me? Where is this train and what does it do? Where does it go? Why is it special? Masha says, I prefer traveling by car. Perfect. And what was I going to say? About trains, Italian cities. Well, I had something to say, but I forgot. But that's great. Yeah, so, yes, I was saying I do like traveling by train here in Italy. For example, in Ireland, it's usually not a good idea to take the train because there aren't many, and the few that are present are usually very expensive. So it doesn't really make sense in Ireland to take the train. It doesn't really make sense in Ireland to take the bus either if it's for short distance, because they are very expensive. For long distance, so for example, a coach, because in English we usually call a bus for a city, while the coach is a long distance bus. So think of your Flixbus, right? Those are quite good. The buses that the coaches that connect Dublin to Cork or Dublin to Galway are very cheap and they are a great service. They are always on time. And Sandra says, I hate trains because I am a commuter from Ravenna to Bologna every day. Yeah, you could say I am a commuter or I commute from Ravenna to Bologna every day. Yeah, that's great. Great word, Sandro, commuter. Commuter is someone who travels every day to a different place, I would say, for work or to study. A commuter. So maybe you live in a different city. For example, Sandro, he lives in Ravenna, but he travels, he commutes to work every day in Bologna. I'm just checking the spelling of what I write, always important. And we have another comment from Nicoletta. She says, in Italy, sometimes the train is more expensive than the plane, so I prefer booking a flight. Wow. Yeah. Especially, I imagine, during the winter. Always are better than riding a donkey. It's true, true. Olga is referring to another one of our teachers. Her name is Kendra, and in a focus we had, she told us the story of riding a donkey. So Olga remembers this. It's a great story. Okay, excellent. Yes, for work. Perfect. Okay, wonderful, guys. Oh, one more word I wanted to give you was road trip. A road trip is when you travel, when you go on holiday, I would say, by car. So usually this is a long holiday and you always move by car. I'll write it here. Go on holiday by car. So I'm going to ask you the next question is, have you ever been on a road trip and where did you go? So remember, road trip is, oh, actually, I'll make this smaller. A road trip is, here we go, here's the question. When you go on holiday with a car, you move from maybe a city to another city, or you travel around the country by car. So, for example, a few years ago, I went on a road trip around Lake Garda. So we started in Desenzano, which is in the south of Lake Garda. We moved with the car to the top, Riva, and then we moved all the way back on the other side to complete a round trip of Lake Garda. And Sonia says, my last travel was in December by coach from Bergamo to Munich. Wow. How long was this trip, Sonia? For me, the last trip by coach was from Bologna to Innsbruck, so maybe more or less the same distance. It was in December. I can't remember, but it was a great trip. The trip itself was quite long. It was maybe 6 hours, so quite long. Oh, 9 hours. So your one was definitely longer. For this reason, I prefer the plane. I definitely prefer the plane. But tell me about any road trips you've been on. So remember, travel by car. Another road trip I went on, terrible. Yeah. Another road trip I went on was we went to Tralee, which is a peninsula. Well, it's a town, but also a peninsula on the west coast of Ireland. So we went there by car. We traveled around. Sorry, the town is Tralee. The peninsula is the Dingle Peninsula. We visited Dingle, the town, and yeah, it was a very nice holiday. Yes, okay. And Valeria says, my last road trip was in Andalusia. I started from Valencia and arrived in Tarifa. Wow, that's very nice. How long was your trip, Valeria? It sounds amazing. I would love to visit Spain. I've never visited it before. So I would love to visit Spain, and also the south of France, I'd say, is very beautiful. And a road trip sounds amazing for these kind of countries. Wonderful. Okay, anyway, keep your suggestions coming. Tell me more about your road trips. Here we have Nicoletta. My last road trip was in Tuscany some years ago. Wonderful. I've been, I'd say I was there for a week. Nice. And Sandra says last September, a tour of Sicily. Wonderful. Very, very nice. Okay. Please keep telling me of your holidays. I'd love to hear of them. But let's move on. So we have describing a destination. So we're going to go into descriptions of cities. We're going to start with this city here, Paris. So describe Paris for me. What is it like? What can you see there? How is the food? What are the hotels like? How expensive is it? What can you do there? What's the weather like? Okay, so in the comments, please tell me something about Paris if you've ever visited it before. In the meantime, I'll read some of your comments. Valeria says, I like traveling by train because I can read on the trip. Yeah, fantastic. Elisa says, my last road trip was in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Very nice. I've always wanted to visit Israel as well, and Palestine. My last road trip was in September from Bergamo to Saint-Tropez. Wow, by car? Interesting. Very good. We already have some descriptions. No worries, Valeria. But tell me what you think about the city, because personally, I've never been to Paris either. I would like to visit someday, but I've never visited it up till now. But tell me in the comments if you know something about the city. Um, so remember that, for example, the first question is, what is Paris like? In this situation, like is a preposition. It is not the verb. The verb is to be. So in any kind of question, when you have what is something like, um, with a smaller, this is for a description. So it could be for a place or for a person, or maybe like the last question, what is the weather like? So in the answer, it's not about preference, it's about description. So for example, what is the weather like? At the moment, it is sunny. Or what is Bologna like? Bologna is historical and bustling. Anyway, we have some other comments. Sonia says, Paris is the most romantic city I know. Very nice. Very good use of the superlative as well. The most romantic city. Excellent. And Sandra says, Paris is beautiful for the history it manifests in each monument. Wonderful. Wonderful sentence. Valeria says, I went to Paris a lot of years ago. I would say many years ago. But I couldn't go on the tower, so I came back as soon as possible. Interesting. And Elisa said, I've never visited Paris, but it's not in the next places that I'd like to visit. Ah, interesting. So what is on your list, Elisa? What countries or what cities would you like to visit? What is on the top of your list? Um, yeah, it's definitely not at the top of my list either. I would like, well, in the world, I would like to visit Japan maybe next. But I don't know. In Italy, maybe. I'd love to visit Spain. I haven't been to Spain yet, and so it is definitely at the top of my list. Sorry, I'll move over. But yeah, tell me something more about Paris. Do you know anything about the food? Do you like French food? How expensive is it? Very important. Paris is a gorgeous city. Oh, I like this adjective. Gorgeous. It's a gorgeous city. I love walking on foot and sightseeing around the city because it is all amazing. Excellent. Well done. And Olga says, people never move in the street like you don't exist in Paris. Interesting. People move in the street like you don't exist in Paris. I suppose it happens in every big city. I imagine it's the same in London or Milan, maybe. But yeah, I understand what you mean with that. Anyway, I just wanted to add the wonderful adjective. Gorgeous, which is very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Gorgeous. Excellent. And Elisa says on the top of the list, there is Canada and India. Wonderful. Yes, Canada, I would really like to visit. And India. Valeria says, the last city I visited is Ibiza. It's so beautiful. Wonderful. And Sonia says, Paris is famous for the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre Museum. Perfect. Perfect. Right. So you're doing very well in Paris. Let's change city. Let's move on to Barcelona. What can you tell me about Barcelona? We have what is it like? What can you see there? How is the food? What are the hotels like? How expensive is it? What can you do there? And what is the weather like? So again, what can you tell me about Spanish food? Do you like it or not? What can you do there? What can you see? please tell me in the comments. We have another comment. Wonderful, from Masha. She says, Paris is wonderful. The weather in Paris is sunny, with the most beautiful sunsets I have ever seen. But the city is a bit dangerous. The food is tasty, but expensive. Okay, wonderful. That's very nice. The most beautiful sunsets I have ever seen. I'll write it in the comments because that's a great expression. I have ever seen. That's very nice. Is it on the river, I imagine? And Valeria says, I love tapas, a specialty of Spain. You can eat many different small dishes. Nice. I think you need to check the spelling of dishes, though. Dishes. This is a great term as well. A dish is it's a plate. So, for example, tapas is a dish, or lasagna is a dish, or risotto is a dish. So yeah, definitely. I've never had tapas. Oh no, maybe I have once, but not in Spain. In general, I really like Spanish food. I love paella, and yeah, it's good. It's good. And Olga says, my trip was cancelled for Barcelona. I hope to fly to Barcelona soon. It's a pity that it was cancelled, but hopefully you can go soon. But yeah, if anybody else has been to Barcelona, please tell me something about it. I have heard many very good things, especially about the architecture. We have another good use of the comparative from Nicoletta. In my opinion, Spanish people are nicer than French people, or the French. I don't know. I don't think I know enough Spanish people or enough French people to make this comparison, but very good use of the comparative form. Elisa says Barcelona is a colorful city. Colorful, wonderful. Gaudi's houses are wonderful and amazing. Spanish food is very good and similar to ours. Excellent. And Marco says, I've never been to Paris, but I went to Provence, or Provence, or I don't know how to pronounce it, last summer. It is an amazing place, especially for sands and landscapes. Sands, maybe you're thinking beaches? Like sand is correct. I mean, it's like what is on the beach, or maybe it's the type of sand that is special. I don't know. Anyway, Valeria says, I saw Gaudi's architecture. Really fantastic. Wonderful. And Sonia says, Barcelona is famous for paella and the Rambla. There are many important monuments by Gaudi. Perfect. Remember the plural. There are many important monuments because it's plural. I agree with Elisa. Wonderful. Sandra says, I hope to return soon to see Notre Dame restored. Yes, definitely. It's a tragedy that it burnt down. Olga says, I don't know Spanish people, but I agree with Nicoletta. Do you agree with her because you just don't like French people, or what? That's funny. Okay, anyway, Sonia says there are many monuments. Okay, wonderful. Excellent. And good use of many. In this case, it is countable, so monuments, plural. I think we have one more city to talk about. We have New York. Let me know in the comments if you have ever been to New York, and tell me something about this city. What is New York like? What can you do there? What can you see there? How is American food? What are the hotels like? How expensive is it? What can you do there, etc.? What is the weather like? If you have ever been to New York, I would like to know your opinion about New York pizza, because again, I'm not American and I've never been to New York, but a lot of people from New York talk about the New York pizza as really, really good. You know, some say it's the best in America. I don't know. I'm not American, but I've heard this. So I'd like to know your opinion as an Italian. Do you like the New York pizza or not? Is it actually good? It's always interesting because for what I understand, American pizza is very different to Italian pizza. They are almost two different things. It's definitely evolved differently. But yeah, great comments. Thank you very much for replying. But please continue. Valeria says, I was in New York when I was an 18-year-old girl. I made a, I did a lot of shopping. I did a lot of shopping. Nice, very good. Yeah, did you find it more or less expensive compared to Italy? Was it more expensive than Italy? Less expensive? Does it depend on the product? I don't know. But it says on the first day of the year, people throw things from the windows. Really? That sounds very dangerous. Why would they do that? Glenn says, I hope to see New York I would say at least once in my life. I would like to too, as well. At least once in my life. Yes, definitely. I've never been to the States, so at least once in my life I would like to. My parents paid for me, so it was not expensive. Yeah, I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that. That's great. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, that's great. If you have been to New York, please tell me more about the city. What can you see there? What can you do there? What is the food like, etc. Do you like American food in general? From New York, I think also the hot dogs are typical. They love their hot dogs. Sandro says we'll go next June, but we will certainly postpone. Probably. I don't know. Hopefully you won't need to postpone. Hopefully. What else did I want to say? Yes. So if you don't have much to say about New York or the other cities we've talked about before. Oh, bye, Valeria. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for joining us and talking to us. What was I saying? Yes. So please describe your hometown. Or the city you live in. But yeah, describe your city, let's say. Describe your city. In the comments. So yeah, tell me about your city. What is your city like? What can you do there? How is the food? What are the hotels like? How expensive is it? What can you do there? What's the weather like? Sonia says, I went to New York many years ago with my husband. I did a lot of shopping as well. That's great. Was it more or less expensive than here in Italy? Please don't tell me your husband paid like Valeria was saying earlier. Olga says, everything is good in this city and country except the president. But as we know, there are disadvantages everywhere, of course, of course. Oh, do you mean in America? Yeah, definitely. Oh, good question here from Sandra. What is the difference between trip and travel? Good point. Well, I always describe the difference grammatically. For me, a trip is a noun. So yeah, it's a noun, while travel is the verb. So trip is a noun, and what did I write? And to travel is the verb. So yeah, all right here. So for example, I like traveling by train. This is the activity. It's the verb, traveling. On my last trip, I went to where did I go? Ireland, I think. But there was probably something before that, but never mind. Let's say I went to Ireland. So my trip was to Ireland. It's a noun, while I traveled to Ireland in the winter to see my grandparents. In one case, it's used as a verb. In the other case, it's a noun. Hope that's a good explanation. Masha says New York City is a very noisy city. Excellent. It's a lot of things. Manhattan, Brooklyn, and the Bronx. Shopping is probably the best in the US, best to find in the US, and likely among the top cities in the world for options. Aha, so this is why everyone goes to New York for shopping. I'd say the best you'll find in the US. Let's use the future. You will find in the US, and likely among the top cities in the world for options. Yeah, good. I like this sentence. Likely among the top cities. That's very good, Masha. By the way, for people if you don't know, likely is probably. Actually, I'll write it in the comments. Likely, probably. Okay, and Nicoletta says, I think that it depends from the exchange between the euro and the dollar. Yeah, I suppose it does. Euros, I think, are stronger than dollars, so maybe that goes in your favor. I don't know. I'm never sure about these things, especially because last summer I went on holiday to Croatia. I went to Dubrovnik with my girlfriend, and we thought that things would be relatively cheap because the euro was a stronger currency than I think it was kuna in Croatia. Well, anyway, but it wasn't the case. Everything was very expensive, even with the exchange. Because it was a tourist city, so things were very expensive in general. Okay. But yeah, tell me something about your hometown or your city. So tell me something about Bergamo or Ravenna or Milan. What is it like? What is the weather like? What are the hotels like? How expensive is it? I don't know. We have another comment from Sonia. Excellent about Bergamo. Bergamo is an amazing city. There is the low part, modern, and the upper part, historical, surrounded by walls. There are many hotels from 2 stars to 5 stars. Perfect. Wonderful. That's a great sentence. Just remember your article at the beginning. Bergamo is an amazing city. Perfect. So tell me more about your hometowns, your cities. For example, Cork is a small city, but it is very friendly. All of the people there are usually quite friendly. I told you about the monuments before. You can go to shop at the English market or at the big shopping center, or there are a lot of smaller shops along St. Patrick's Street. And the food is great. I love Irish food, just because the ingredients are so good. All of the meat is really good. All of the vegetables as well. They're very fresh, and yeah, the ingredients are great. And I've never stayed in Cork in a hotel, so I really don't know what they are like. But the city is it's not very expensive, I would say. Ireland in general is a little bit more expensive, I would say, compared to Italy, especially Dublin. Dublin is very expensive, very expensive. If you've ever been there, you know. But obviously the weather is terrible. There's nothing to do about that. Irish weather is terrible. It's always raining, especially during the winter or the autumn. I would recommend going in the summer, of course, in July. Usually that's when you get the best weather. Sandro says Ravenna is beautiful, clean, silent city with many I would say cycle lanes. Cycle lane. Nice. Very nice. I love a city that is bike friendly. This is why I would love to visit Amsterdam or Rotterdam or the Netherlands in general. It's great when you can visit a country on a city on foot or by bike. I think it means it's a lot more green. It's a lot more friendly somehow. Elisa says my country is not very big. It is. I would say my town is not very big. It is near Milan, and it is famous for the cheese festival in September. Its main church was built in 1806, and its park is very nice. Milan is certainly more interesting. Nice, very good, Elisa. Why not? Tell me something about Milan as well, and what is the weather like in Lombardy? But yeah, I would say it is a town because country is actually what we call the state. So, for example, Ireland is a country, or Italy is a country, or France is a country. A similar word that contains it is countryside, while this is the rural area outside the city. Cities, rural. So two different things. Country is the nation, the state, while countryside is the rural area outside where there is nature, trees, animals, etc. Marco says, my city is in the north of Italy. It's called the Red and the Oily. Wait, the Red, the Oily, Savant? Guess. Wait. Okay. I see what you mean. Because these are the three adjectives that you give to Bologna. Okay, this is interesting. How would I translate these? The red, yes. The oily, no, I would say the fat, maybe. The red, the fat, and the maybe educated, more or less. Remember that in English, education or educated refers to academic, so university, school, etc. Okay. Sonia says the people are a little bit closed, I would say, and not confident. Interesting. Nicoletta says in Chioggia there's a part of the town called Sottomarina where there are 7 kilometers of beach. All the beaches, plural, are cool. There are parties with music, but unfortunately the Adriatic Sea isn't clean. Okay, very good adjectives here, Nicoletta. Excellent. So we are towards the end of our webinar. So if you have any last minute questions, here is your last minute to ask them. Let's review a few things that we looked at. So the area outside of a city in nature, let's say, is called the countryside. We have another comment from Masha. Milan is big and modern city with a lot of sightseeing. People are usually friendly. The food is good. There are many typical restaurants. Perfect. Another part of the city that we were talking about was the cycle lane. This is the part of the city where you can cycle. It's dedicated to bikes. Likely is probable. Trip is the noun, the object. Travel is the verb, the activity. Then we had, this was a good expression. at least once in my life. We were talking about dishes that can be the object, the plate, but also the food that you have. Gorgeous is a very good synonym of very, very beautiful. And remember that this structure for a question is for a description. You have the verb is and like as a preposition. And remember that a long distance bus is a coach. So thank you, Masha, for joining me. Thank you all for joining me tonight for our webinar. And have a lovely evening. And there should be another webinar in 10 minutes if you're interested. So thank you very much for joining and interacting with us. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.